Hey guys, a new video for Path of Exile. So this video we're going to go over a life-based Juggernaut armor stacker. Gotta say guys, this one was really good. I really enjoyed playing this character. Like sometimes you play a build and you're just kind of like, wow, this is it. Like this build is really good. And a couple of times that's happened to me in Path of Exile, with like things like Poison Spark Cultist, and then of course like Scion Armor Stacker and that kind of stuff. And some of the other versions of Armor Stacker I played on like Chieftain, stuff like that, those were pretty good, and stuff like that, but never really had that same kind of effect as this one. So this one, really good, really enjoyed it, and I think this kind of character would be achievable for a lot of people, mainly because we're not really using like mirror tier items or any kind of things. Like I did make very nice gear, probably one step down from mirrored items. I spent a lot of time in currency crafting the gear on this character. Ended up with some very nice items, but we're not using unethical items like 3 passive 1 passive voices and that kind of stuff, so that those kind of things are not used in the build, and with all of that we are still able to have a very nice character. Alright, so probably you guys are thinking, well, this guy only has 2k life, this build can't be good, but actually this character is very tanky. So I did want to talk a little bit about defenses and when you're building, characters and that kind of stuff. Basically, the way I like to do things is I have like a category system for defenses. So we have like the small hits, medium hits, big hits, right? So the small hits are going to be things like juiced rare mobs, like being able to tank the hits from those juiced rare mobs. Medium hits going to be things like a shaper ball or something like that, right? Or a single flame blast from Exarch, or the little ground runes she makes and that kind of stuff. And then we have the big hits. Big hits, these are things like the Maven Brain Explosion, the double flame blast from Exarch, and those kind of big boss slam abilities. In order to have a good time against the small and medium hits in the game, well, for the small hits you don't really need that much max hit. You only need about maybe 50-60k with your guard skill down, and then with guard skill up 140, 130, 150. And that's usually enough to take care of those kind of hits. And then with for the I think the small hits are mainly about recovery, because they do often come in a lot quicker than the medium and big hits. So being able to comfortably tank these small hits in the game really comes down to just having good recovery. I'd say like 2k plus recovery is where it starts to feel very good, along with like 50-60k max hit and that kind of stuff. So for the medium hits, you probably need about like 100k max hit and 200k with your guard skill up, and you're going to have a pretty good time against most of those. The medium hits, they don't come out that fast, so you just need to be able to take the hit and then recover whatever health or energy shield you lost fairly quickly. But after that, there isn't really much point in increasing your max hit, past like say 200k, 250k. You're not going to really be able to tank the big hits until you actually get to like 400, 500, 600, 700k max hit, because those abilities are just doing so much damage. So there's no real point in actually increasing your max hit from like 200, 250k unless you're actually going to go push all the way up to those next breakpoints of max hit to be able to take the big hits, because you're not really getting much benefit because you're already able to tank all those medium and small hits, so there's no real point. So at that point, what I like to do is just build damage, speed, quality of life. It's going to make the build, or whatever build you're playing, feel a lot better if you just kind of keep those things in mind. Say you only really need to tank the small hits, well, just get enough recovery, enough hit to tank the small hits, and then just build damage, kill things faster, and that actually does provide quite a lot more defense. Alright, so this character can tank all of the small and medium hits in the game pretty much, and that's why we are only at 2k life. We'll go into a little bit of why we're at 2k life. Basically because of Unbreakable giving us elemental damage mitigation based on 8% of our armor. We are at about 3 million armor, so that is providing quite a lot of extra elemental damage mitigation as well as physical damage mitigation. 3 million armor, it's going to be very hard for any kind of mob to break through your armor and actually start doing damage, because you know the way fizz damage reduction armor works, the bigger the hit, the less effective your armor is. And I think for a lot of builds, they're going to be like, oh, we got to convert our fizz damage to another element, you know, because they just don't have armor, right? Or they don't have a lot of it. But with 3 million armor, these kind of monsters in maps are going to have a very hard time actually, you know, breaking your armor, say. So we don't really have to convert that much of our fizz damage taken to elemental, and get a lot of fizz damage reduction, get elemental damage reduction. And actually, funny thing is, so this character is running 4 8 passive clusters, which is why we don't have any life, because we're spending all of our points on extra aura effect. Funny thing is, so I could take out this cluster here and I could get life. I could get about 3,500 life, maybe more. The max hit of the character that I can take doesn't really change. Well, why is that? So dropping these 2 clusters here, not only does it actually, do I lose about like 35% of my damage is actually lost because of aura effect breakpoints, we're also going to be losing quite a lot of armor. And since we lose armor, our unbreakable is less effective. So we actually lose max hit like that. So basically, we're able to get away with 2k life because we have 3 million armor, and that's providing an insane amount of, what do you call it, fizz? First of all, fizz damage mitigation, and then also elemental damage mitigation. I guess also chaos too, because we have the chaos mastery over here. So basically, that's why 2k life, we're able to actually tank pretty much everything in the game, except for the big hits and that kind of stuff. Alright, so let's do a few showcases. Alright, we do have a few lined up today. Might take a little bit of time in the showcases. We're going to do some Uber bosses. We'll do a Sanctuary T17 map with the +2 additional modifiers, Meatsacks, and then we're going to be doing some Valdo's maps. Alright, so for the Meatsack setup, we're going to be using the Lightning Strike of Arcing, and I think for a lot of time people are like, this Lightning Strike of Arcing is actually a really bad single target, and can be, but there is one little trick you can do, and the reason why Lightning Strike of Arcing is actually bad single target is because most of the time people doing this don't have any pierce. So if you don't have any pierce, what happens is you don't get any double hits from Nimbus and this kind of stuff. So if you just add, I just added a +1 pierce on my gloves. So we do get the pierce, we get the return hit, and it does give us a little bit better single target. And of course, Vol Lightning Strike. Alright, so let's go into the map. We're on a back to basics symbol kind of atlas, and let's go in. Let's see. Oh, rarity, that's quite nice. So let's put these Meatsacks over here, and we'll do rogue exiles for everything else, as you know you would do in a strat like this. Alright, so let's get going. So, you know, Lightning Strike of Arcing still, though, the single target is quite bad. But we're just going to be using it anyways. Probably should loot later. What I like to do is get a bunch of these guys over here. We're going to sort of group them up. Let's say, don't really want to pull too many because we lose some over here. Wait, no. So let's just go and kill them off then. So, oh, we got a curation. Wow, already got one. And basically, yeah, we just use our vessel, use the Vol Lightning Strike, use the Vol Smite, the Vol Haste, thank you, and you know, kill them off with our burst, basically. Right. So single target, you can see it can be kind of slow, right? Because this guy has like regen, but we just kind of group them up, and yeah, I mean, can't really do much with Lightning Strike, single target, but having the Pierce does kind of help. Alright, so we got some more here. Let's use our burst again. Don't really have the Vol Lightning Strike, but we do have the Vol Smite and that kind of stuff. Hey, another curation. Wow, what is this map? Right. Okay, that is very lucky, getting 2 in one map. Oh my god. Mana Siphoners, PTSD. Alright, so yeah, if I was using Molten Strike, be like 2 times this amount of damage, but I don't know, I think the lightning strike is quite fun, so just using that for now. Let's get another big group here of monsters. Oh my god, there's the guys that are running away. Okay, we'll leave him. I'm gonna bother with that. Oh, there's 2 of them. Yeah, let's just kind of leave him alone. Maybe we can kill one off. Yeah, never mind. Let's leave those guys there. I'm not gonna run around and chase them around the whole map. And oh, we got Divine Orb, and this map is just got all the loot in it. Funny if we like dropped a mirror or something like that. Okay, got another big group here, so let's use the ball skills and that kind of stuff. That's basically how I'm doing these like Meatsacks, right? We just kind of group them up and then use our ball skills and that kind of stuff to kill them off. So I don't want to lose them. Sometimes they get stuck on the walls and they just stop following you. Now this guy has that thing that prevents recovery, which is kind of annoying, so probably don't want to make that big of a stack, these Meatsacks. No, we don't have any flask charges, but we do have the ball skills, so I think we'll just go and kill them off. Guy has life regen. Okay. Alright. So that's kind of how these maps usually go, right? Anyways, let's go over to the boss and kill the boss so you can see what it's like. I think Maven is going to be healing her, or probably not. So we have so much damage that we pretty much just one-shot the boss, even with this fall lightning strike. I mean, the lightning strike of arcing, which is usually like pretty bad DPS, right? And boss is already dead, so pretty easy. Alright, so that was a back to basics map. Let's try some Uber bosses and so you can see what it's like. Alright, Uber Searing Exarch. Weren't able to actually kill him in time, a little bit sad. But very close to actually just completely phasing him, or you know, he does this kind of phase thing, maybe with a little bit more damage we could. But yeah, you know, so these little balls, I consider them to be like the medium hits in the game, right? And we can easily, you know, tank the medium balls. You know, if we get hit by like 10 of them at once, then that might kill you, or, you know. But for the, oh my god. Okay, he always likes to do this, huh? But yeah, you know, you can sort of have a good time in these kind of areas where there's a lot of medium hits and take the hits, you know, and it's totally not a problem. That's what I'm saying, like, there's no real point in building more max hit past this, unless I wanted to try to build the character to tank, say, like, his big explosion thing that he does, like this thing. So if I wanted to make the character able to tank this thing, then, you know, you would increase your max hit, but that's not really something that I think this character is going to be doing. Alright, so what about a Valdo's map? So we're going to do some Valdo's. This time we're going to be putting the bar up a little bit higher. We'll be doing a 100% Delirious Feared map. Let's do the channel map first. Alright, so these kind of maps, we have like tons of damage. So we basically just want to go in, one-shot the Feared. I probably won't one-shot them, but, you know, kill them very quickly and avoid the big hits. Pretty much the goal on this character. So hopefully we won't really have that many problems. We can dive, you know, to the Feared in this current setup because, you know, like I said, we're not really focused on tanking that much, but more so, you know, getting a lot of damage basically. Okay, so here is the Feared. Why don't we go and put a portal real quick. Alright, we got the Vortex guy here. Let's use our Ball Molten Shell. Okay. Probably don't want to stand in that either. I'm trying to find Adziri. I don't really know where she is. Oh, here's Shaper. Let's kill Shaper. Or Elder. Alright, Elder dead. What about Adziri? Let's kill Adziri off real quick. Alright, Adziri is dead. And Shaper. Let's use our ball skills. Alright, and they are dead. So, fairly easy. Alright, let's try one more. One cool thing with the Untiring is you can see as we're getting hit, you're going to be getting more and more life regen. I've seen this number go all the way up to about 10k. We are taking quite a bit of damage though. Some big hits, so let's just kill them off. But yeah, you can get quite a lot of regen on this character just by getting hit by fizz damage, which is quite cool. Of course, you know, it does take some time to build up, so when it's not built up, you know, regen can be a little bit low, but yeah. Alright, so let's try one more time in a 100% Delirious Feared map. They're just up here, so let's try to maybe clean up this area a little bit before we go in. There's Chayula, and he does a lot of like chaos and fizz, so he is quite annoying actually. But I just want to clear out the mobs. Okay, let's kill off the Shaper over here. Use our ball skills. Alright, he's dead. Kill Zeri too. Alright, Zeri dead. Or, now she's dead. Alright, where is... oh, I think that's it. Oh, we did it, guys. Alright, so let's get into the build. So, first of all, life-based build. And then we're going for Eldritch Battery for the Grace, Divine Blessing, Aura. Then basically just taking the points on the tree that we need. And then all the rest of our points are going into these clusters so we can stack introspections for more aura effect. So we get more armor, more damage, and that kind of stuff. We're also doing something kind of interesting with the Rational Doctrine jewel here. You notice that my strength and my intelligence is exactly the same, so that means we get both of these effects. We get Consecrated Ground, so we have Consecrated Ground, and when we crit against an enemy, we are going to make this Profane Ground. That's going to make them take 10% increased damage, so that's quite nice. So we get both of the effects. Might take a little bit of min-maxing to get your attributes to be the same, but it is quite nice having both of those. Alright, so let's go over some of the gear and how we're building the character. So first of all, let's just start with the swords we always do. So 2 swords, you know, they're not too crazy, just attack speed, enchant, and then attack speed, enchant with fortify. The helmet is a synth helmet. Now, this base was actually quite easy to get. It was only like 4 div for this base. And one thing with this character is, so we're going for EB for the Grace Aura Blessing. It might be a challenge getting enough energy shield, right? You do want to have around 600 energy shield to be able to cast your Grace Aura. So where are you going to get your energy shield? And I'm getting it from my helmet and from my gloves, and then we have a little bit on the ring. Right, so that's pretty much the only sources of flat energy shield, and then we have some intelligence, I guess. So getting energy shield can be a problem, and if it is hard to get, then just get like a Hubris Circlet, right? If you're not using a aura effect base, or maybe even just a pure energy shield base gloves, just so you can, you know, get your energy shield. I was able to fit it in with one of these hybrid bases, so that's quite nice. So I get a little bit of evasion, it gives me some extra armor. But yeah, the non-curse aura helm bases are very cheap. They're like for 1 divine for an armor base. The bases with energy shield are a little bit more expensive, but yeah. And after that, we just crafted this with the fossils, like I did in my video for crafting the helmet, except for this time we didn't go for the plus strength gem. I went for the fire resistance, because that is actually quite a bit more damage. And then after that, we just got some life. I got very lucky and exalted on the evasion energy shield, increased tier 2. Would be nice if this was the flat, but I guess, yeah, get what you take. And after that, I just crafted on AoE gems. Yeah, so craft itself, nothing really too special, I would say, you know. Let's just see. So ring here, just this is a Grace Aura effect ring. Because we're using Eldritch Battery, we don't really need to invest in that much reduced mana cost of skills. So that is quite nice. We can use, you know, a normal Grace Aura effect ring. Crafted this with, actually crafted this with fossils, Aberrant Fossil, just a 1-socket fossil until I got Fire Resistance and Chaos Res. And then you do, can have 3 crafted modifiers, suffixes can be changed, reforged life till you get good level of life, and then after that just Exalt Slam. Basically the only thing you want is probably Flat Lightning or Energy Shield. I got the Energy Shield and fire damage, so you know I'm not too picky about that. And then we just craft on the fire and chaos res, because getting chaos res is a little bit difficult, I guess, if you, especially if you're using a synthesized ring. If you use like an amethyst ring, it would be a lot easier, but I have to get it here. I don't have it on my gloves either too, so that's why it's a bit hard for me. The Grasping Mail is a single fire overcap. Basically just crafted this with the MD essence, I think it was, or maybe not. I can't really remember what I used to craft it. But anyways, yeah, I think you can use NV essences or something like that. And got very lucky on the essence with the suffixes, then just reforge life for the prefix till we get some life, and then craft on the last mod. So yeah, Amulet, Ashes of the Stars, Grace Aura effect, very, very nice. We want to see something crazy in PLB. This is how stupid Ashes of the Stars is for Molten Strike. You can see we're at 445 million DPS. Take it off, we go to 263 million DPS. This is actually adding on, I guess the you know, the charisma enchant is actually doing something as well, but this is adding on 180 million DPS, or about 40% of our damage is from Ashes of the Stars. Kind of crazy. And then we have a Nimbus, very nicely rolled, and then we have our Mage Blood, also very nicely rolled. And then we have the gloves. The gloves, crafted this with the essence. I was trying to get Chaos Res instead of Life Regen, so ideally I would have the attack speed, the Fire Res, and then Chaos Res. But I landed this, and it's tier 1 Life Regen. It came pretty well rolled, so I was like, alright, I gotta keep it. So I did keep it, and then what I ended up doing was I was getting a lot of Chaos Res on my clusters over here. So I had to get extra Chaos Res on the clusters to make up for the stat I lost on the gloves. And then after that, you just kind of reforge life. Or actually, no, I did have life fractured on this glove, so then I just reforged defense, I guess. And then finish it with the crafted AoE. You can go for unveiled if you want, but at this point, I'm not really going to bother with that. Our March of Legion are not a +4 or anything like that, so that's something to note. We are still getting this kind of insane damage without buying the, you know, very expensive double corruptions, which is kind of nice. And that is the gear for the flasks. Let's see, so I'm using this one here, the silver flask. We have bleed and corrupted blood immunity on the flask. It's actually just very simple to get it here. Otherwise we'd have to get a CB jewel and have to use like a Pantheon for bleed. And I did want to use the Pantheon for Shikari for poisons. So basically getting bleed immunity and CB on a flask is the best solution. And then also that since we don't need a CB jewel, we can use the Rational Doctrine. Otherwise this would be a CB jewel in the slot. So I think it is quite nice to get it on the flask. Okay, so there's a couple of flasks that you can use, right? So I'm using Vessel of Vintikar because if we look at this flask, it's pretty insane for damage. We get 6 Lightning Pen, and then we also get Shock for 10%, right? And since we're using Elemental Focus, the only shock we get is from our Smite, whenever we use Smite, and that sometimes is like 5 to 17% shock just from Smite, but you know, not super reliable. But with the Vessel, we do get 10% shock, so that's quite nice. And then the 6% Lightning Pen does get increased by the Flask effect that we have, so that's also quite nice. But basically here, just for the Lightning Pen, which ends up adding quite a lot of damage. If we look in PLB, this flask is giving about 73 million DPS, or about, you know, 16% of our total damage, so quite nice. If you do want to be more defensive, then I guess we could use Progenesis, right? But you know, like I said, this character already does have the defensive stats to tank pretty much everything I want it to tank. If I'm running a super hard map, I might swap over to Progenesis, but I haven't really encountered that situation yet, and the Vessel giving extra damage is quite nice. One funny thing you can do if you're on a budget is So this flask, I don't know if I haven't really seen a lot of people doing this, but on a life-based build, when you have a lot of chaos res and regen, life regen, this flask is quite insane, especially when you set it up this way. So it has recover 100% of life on use, and then you take some chaos damage. The chaos damage you take is actually quite negligible. It doesn't really do much. It's kind of like Progenesis, right? But the nice thing is this is a quartz flask, so it's not a life flask, so you can actually enchant it. And you enchant it with the use when you take a savage hit. So savage hit is like a hit that does a certain percent of your life. So basically it's kind of like a cast when damage taken on a flask. So whenever you take a big hit, you're automatically going to use this flask. It's going to heal you to full, and you're not going to notice that you did take damage. So it's kind of like, yeah, a mini Defiance of Destiny on a flask, sort of. So it's quite nice. And then after that, yeah, you can use a Quicksilver for instead of this. You'll have like 2 million armor. I've done like T17s in this setup. It is quite nice. And then Reflect Flask. I guess you would probably want to get the Reflect enchant over here maybe, and replace the evasion with Reflect and that kind of stuff. So that's sort of the flask setups that I'm using. So let's go over some of the gem setups, but you know, they're all kind of the same, not really much to say about them. So I think I might just skip them. Oh, except like Blood and Sand. So Blood and Sand, quite a lot of damage. You could go for a Defiance Banner and get a bit more armor. It is less damage than Blood and Sand. So that's something you can do. You can also just get rid of Blood and Sand and use a Totem. Totem is actually more damage than Blood and Sand, but I just don't like Totems. They're so unreliable. They just die all the time. So going for Blood and Sand to have that consistent damage. Oh, also, nice thing for Purity of Fire. You notice my gloves are only a +1 to AoE gems, and our Purity of Fire is level 23, but that's kind of because of the Ashes giving +1 to all skills, so it is quite nice. You don't even really need a +2 AoE on your gloves. You put your Purity in there, and you do still get the level 23 Purity, so that's quite nice. Aside from that, that's pretty much it for the kind of gems. So let's go over the passive tree. So let's talk about the clusters, I guess. First of all, first large cluster is going to be here just to give us Frenzy on kill, and then a little bit of Life Leech. That's pretty much the only reason I have this here. Then after that, we have 2 of these Scintillating Idea ones here and here, and then we do have a Storm Drinker. Now you notice that a lot of mine are just 1 cluster jewels, and that's because I did look for ones that have like resistance and attack and cast speed, and this is actually more damage than, say, if you had another notable that was like 30% increased damage. Because we have a lot of increased damage already, the fire resistance gives more armor, and then it ends up being more damage than having another notable over here. All of these here, you can see they're like fire resistance, all elemental resistance. I did go and buy a lot of these, and you know, live searched for a day or so to find some nice ones. So this one here is quite nice, 2% attack and cast speed, and then fire resistance. So, you know, this actually doesn't do anything for Molten Strike. It's kind of funny, but for Lightning Strike it does something, I guess. So that's the jewels. After that, yeah, introspections. You are going to need some with chaos resistance, probably, I guess, and quite a few 35% increased effects. See, I have some here. I think 3 35% increased effect jewels in total, or 4. Now, you don't really need them if, say, you just drop the Blood and Sand. So you could drop Blood and Sand, go for the Totem, maybe drop some precision levels, because you don't really need that many levels on Jug, but it does give you more damage, right, because of the undeniable. That is the jewels. Let's just see. So let's go over, let's just start from the top. We have the Watcher's Eye. Definitely do want to get reduce crit damage, I'd say, because that's probably the only source I have right now, and you probably can't really get tattoos, I'd say. I don't think you have enough int. So getting it on the Watcher's Eye is probably going to be the play to go, and then maybe a damage mod. I think the Lightning Pen is the highest damage mod you can get. Or you can get some precision mod, maybe like the attack speed one. Right, and then after that we have the, we're using a Brutal Restraint. The Conqueror doesn't really matter. You just do want to get some aura effect if you can. So I've got 16% on this one. Now due to the build and going and getting all of these 8 passive clusters, we are very short on points. And there's one thing to note is I do really think you need this life mastery. Skills cost life instead of 30% of mana. So that means we can reduce the mana cost of our blessing. So you can see it's you know, costing 340 life and 470 mana. So without this, I can't cast it. It's 684 mana. So I would have to get another 100 energy shield to be able to actually use this. So this mastery does basically give you, it's kind of a nice solution, right, to reduce the mana cost of the blessing. So you don't really have to invest that much into energy shield or reduce mana cost of skills. I guess if you did use energy shield bases like a Hubris Circlet or a pair of Sorcerer Gloves, then you wouldn't really have this problem of the mastery. But what I'm trying to get is, let's say if I had aura effect over here, I probably couldn't go and take it because you still have points, right? So you want to get the aura effect on Faith and Steel and on Devotion, I guess, right? So these two nodes are preferable for aura effect, otherwise I wouldn't bother with it because you can't really drop it, right? We're not taking any life anywhere else to do it, but you'd have to sort of drop something else, I'd say, right? So definitely one with Faith and Steel and Devotion is recommended. This also does help with getting our decks, which is quite nice. Then we have our melding over here, and then the Rational Doctrine. So Rational Doctrine, once again, remember, we do want to get our strength and intelligence attribute to be exactly the same. So you can see I'm using a lot of tattoos to remove some strength. All right, so it's going to take a little bit of min-maxing, but should be doable. I think I don't even have any intelligence on any of my gear. Yeah, no intelligence on any of my gear, so it should be totally fine. I think all you'll have to do is just put some strength tattoos. We're using the fire resistance tattoos pretty much everywhere. So I think you just have to get some strength tattoos and you should be tied up pretty much. So that will give you consecrated ground and profane ground. So it's quite nice. Man, that is the passive tree. Not really much else to say. Yeah, just make sure that you are having enough energy shield to cast your divine blessing and you should be fine. Oh yeah, one thing, the storm drinker, now you do need some form of energy shield leech or energy shield on hit. You can get this as a Watcher's Eye mod, or you get it on a cluster jewel. So make sure you have this, otherwise you probably are not going to be able to sustain the ES loss from attacking, because this is costing, it's costing, about, well, while we're attacking, about 54 energy shield cost per second. That's with the Vol haste up. With Vol haste down, it's a little bit less. So you want to make sure you do actually have some ES leech so that you can sustain the cost of your attacks. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the build. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm not really sure which one I'll do next, but I'll think about it. I'm actually probably going to play this character a bit more because it is actually quite fun to play. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.